Hi everyone, Karma with Onward Studios here. In this video, I want to show you the top 5 tools that I use when working inside Photoshop. I've used Photoshop for many years, and I have found over time that these tools are the ones I use most often. Let me quickly show you where the tools are in the toolbar, and then we'll spend some time looking at each tool. One of the tools I use most often is the crop tool. Another one is the text tool. I also often use the shape tool. Then the final two tools are selection type tools. I often use the quick selection tool and the healing brush. There's actually that one there. So let me quickly demonstrate these tools. The crop tool, you simply select it, you get this bounding box around the entire image if you're using version CS6 of Photoshop. Previous versions I don't believe show that yet, but in the latest version as well as previous versions, to select your crop you simply click and drag, and that creates an area of your selection with everything outside of that grayed out, and you can take the handles then and finesse that selection should you choose to do so. There's an option in the CS6 version of the crop tool for straighten. If I click on that, it then asks me to draw a line on how you want to straighten this. So let's just say for some odd reason I want this to be level, that side of the balloon, so I'm simply going to click on that and draw that straight line, and it shifts that to make wherever I designated level. In this case now the balloon is falling out of the sky. That's not pretty at all. I'm going to Control Z that. So we won't do that, but just to demo that you can see how that works. Then I simply hit enter and the crop takes. Let me do a file revert to go back to the original image. Let's go to the next tool, which is the text tool. That's the big T, about 2/3 of the way down in the toolbar. The text tool, you simply click and start typing in your text. If you want to format that, you have the options here in the control panel to choose the font, the style, the size. You can do this also before you actually type if you want. If you want to do more finessing of the text, you can open up the character panel. If you're doing lines of text, which I will demonstrate here, I'm going to grab my text tool again and create what we call a text area. This will cause the text to remain inside the area. I'm going to use a bigger font here because you're going to see that how it wraps inside the text area that I had designated. So that's the text tool. The next tool we're going to look at is the shape tool. I often use a shape tool if I add text to an image. This one isn't too bad because it's just a blue shade behind the text, but if I had this over a busier image, I'd want to offset the text so it's easier to read. I often do that by adding a shape behind the text. I'm going to click on the shape tool, and I will often either use a rectangle or the rounded rectangle, but there's other shapes you can use as well. I'm going to choose the rounded rectangle. I'm going to choose my fill and stroke options up here in the control panel. We'll go with a white fill, and I'm going to set for no stroke. Then to actually create the selection, I'm going to simply click and drag on the image. That's going to default to putting that on the top layer. I'm going to click on this layer in my layers panel and bring it down. Now I happen to know I have white on white. That doesn't work real well, so I'm going to change the color of my text to black. So I'm clicking on that text layer, go to my text tool and change this color to a black. Oops, that was the wrong. I'll do that for both of these texts. All right. Then I will often take the shape layer and bring the opacity down so you can kind of see through that. So it still offsets the text, but you can still see the image behind it. And I'm going to move these so you can see this over the balloon more, something like that. So that's the shape tool. The other tool I often use is our two selection tools, the quick selection tool and the healing brush. Let me demo that really quick. I'm going to delete my text layers. As well as my shape layer. So I'm simply highlighting the layer, clicking on the wastebasket or the delete option at the bottom right of the layers panel. The quick selection tool, Looks like a brush with a little circle around the brush part of it. I'm going to make this tool larger by clicking the right bracket, which is a keyboard shortcut. You could also go up here in the control panel and choose a larger brush via this slider. The quick selection tool will take the color right underneath what you're selecting and then determine where the boundary is to where it changes to a significant other color. So I'm just going to click through here, click and drag. Whoops, I came down too far because it grabbed the balloon. Click and drag through here. I'm just going to go around the entire blue area. You can see how quickly and easily it selected the blue. Now I could delete that, I could inverse that and only grab the balloon out of that, etc. So a quick selection tool is great for selecting an object out of an image. The other tool I want to demonstrate is the Healing Brush tool. The Healing Brush tool, actually there's two variations. There's a spot healing and then a healing brush. The spot healing is just for a spot. Imagine that. So for example, let's say this little flare right here, I want to get rid of that or whatever that is there. I'm going to use a spot healing brush and take my brush larger. I'm using the right bracket key to make this larger to cover that area. And then I'm just going to click on that. Ta-da! And it removes a spot. So a spot healing brush is great for just that, for spots. I'm going to bring that back by doing Control Z. I'm also going to demo the Healing Brush tool. The Healing Brush tool works very similar to the Clone Stamp tool, except the Healing Brush tool considers the shades and the colors and the lighting that's happening around the area that you're editing, whereas with the Clone Stamp tool, it's 100% replacement. So with the Healing Brush tool, I need to take a snapshot. I want to replace a section with. So I'm going to replace this little area right here with a sky around it. So I'm going to enlarge my brush just a bit. I'm going to take a snapshot by holding down Alt and then clicking on that sky. I'm going to go over on this side to do that. So I took a picture of the sky right here. Now I'm going to go back over here and start and click and then drag. You'll notice the cursor over to the right. That's what it's painting onto the area that I'm dragging over. But it's not 100% replacement, and you can kind of tell there it's not the blue completely. It's a little bit lighter. It's taking into consideration the lighting and the shades that were there originally. So Healing Brush tool is a great way to remove blemishes and area of blemishes on your image. That wraps up the discussion on the top 5 tools that I use in Photoshop.